God created everything. Today, we're going to think about some of the properties of water that make it a very special substance. You might already know that a water molecule is made of H2O. Hydrogen and oxygen put together make water. On their own, hydrogen and oxygen are very flammable, but put together, they make the water that we use to put out fires. Wow! Another feature of the structure of the water is that given enough time, water is able to dissolve almost anything. So in the picture you can see lots of salt being put into the water, and if you stir it around a few times, all that salt will disappear, it will dissolve into the water. And we know this is true when we make a cup of tea and put some sugar in it. So those molecules that break apart really easily and come together allow the absorption of other things like the salt or the sugar, and over time water can dissolve almost anything. So one of the effects of what we've just been talking about can be quite dramatic. So if you look at this Grand Canyon or the cliffs and the beaches, these have actually been created by water. It's the force and the power of that moving water. If you think about a river or ocean waves, they're very powerful. And also erosion, which is when the water dissolves through soil and even through rock. To create these beautiful landscapes that we enjoy and appreciate. Another special ability of water that is important for plants to get what they need from it is something called cohesion. It's a special ability of water to rise when it's put in a restricted space. So you could see in the tubes, the narrower they are, the more the liquid is forced up higher. And this is exactly what happens in those narrow veins in plant stems that makes the water go up. If you look at the picture of those giant trees in the forest, think about the fact the water needs to travel upwards from the ground to reach the very tops and every part of that tree in order for it to get the goodness it needs to make the leaves grow. So without the ability of water to creep upward against the pull of gravity, the chemicals and minerals needed by the plants would stay in the ground. So one last amazing property of water. Almost any other substance, whether it was a solid, a liquid or a gas, when it's frozen, it becomes denser and heavier. It sort of shrinks and compacts and becomes heavier. But water, even though it also shrinks as it gets colder, once it gets below 40 degrees and it freezes, it suddenly does something different. It expands and it gets lighter. And this is why ice floats. Now imagine what would happen if ice didn't float. So we've got a picture of a river or a lake, and that layer of ice would freeze on the top, and then because it's so heavy it would sink to the bottom, and then another layer of ice would freeze on the top and sink to the bottom, and it would keep happening over and over, sinking and freezing and dropping until that lake was full of frozen water. If that happened, we would end up living on a completely frozen planet. All the rivers and the oceans would completely freeze up, the things that are in them would die, and even in the summer it wouldn't be possible to melt that ice. Just a little puddle will get melted on the top, but the rest of it would all just be solid ice. And of course we couldn't survive on a frozen planet. So it is amazing that water has this property so that just the top freezes and everything under it is still okay. So all the special properties of water are used to help keep this planet full of living plants, animals and people. We could not survive if water was any different from the special way that it has been designed. And what's important to remember is that God created everything.